When you're daydreaming, it may feel like you're zoning out, your body stays still, your eyes might glaze over, you're quiet, but inside your mind, entire worlds are unfolding. This isn't sleep, it's not exactly focus either. It's something in between, a mental space that researchers sometimes call the default mode network, or DMN. And it's one of the most mysterious, creative, and powerful states your brain can enter. When you're daydreaming, your brain activity shifts dramatically. The regions that are usually busy processing external stimuli, like your prefrontal cortex and parietal lobes, start to quiet down. Instead, your brain lights up in areas linked to memory, imagination, emotion, and self-reflection. It's a state of spontaneous, inward-focused thought where the rules of time and logic loosen and your mind wanders freely through ideas, images, and what-ifs. This state is often compared to dreaming, but unlike nighttime dreams, which tend to be chaotic and hard to control, daydreaming exists in a sweet spot. You're awake enough to guide your thoughts, but relaxed enough to let them flow without force. It's almost like standing in a mental doorway. Behind you is the structured, focused world of logic and tasks. Ahead of you is something much more fluid, a space where your mind can play. And here's the truly fascinating part, your brain is incredibly active during this time. It's not resting. It's not shutting down. It's reconfiguring, making connections, exploring unresolved feelings, running simulations of the future. In fact, researchers believe this unique in-between state is when your brain does some of its most important background work, linking distant memories, building creative ideas, and solving problems you didn't even realize you were working on. Have you ever stepped away from a hard decision, let your mind wander, and then the answer just came to you? That's no coincidence. That's your brain processing in the background while you drift. This state between sleep and focus is also when your inner voice becomes clearer. Not the voice of anxiety or distraction, but the deeper voice that says, "What if you tried this instead?" Or "Here's something you forgot you loved." In that stillness, your brain isn't off. It's just tuned into a different frequency, one that's quieter, more imaginative, and often more honest. So the next time you catch yourself staring out the window, lost in a thought that leads nowhere and everywhere at once, don't feel guilty. You're not wasting time. You're entering one of the most powerful mental states your brain can offer. One of the most powerful things about daydreaming is that it allows your brain to make unexpected connections. You might start out thinking about something totally ordinary, like what to make for dinner, and suddenly find yourself imagining a new career, a childhood memory, or the plot of a novel that's never been written. And no, that's not random. It's creativity, unfolding in real time. When you daydream, your brain becomes more associative. That means it starts linking ideas that wouldn't normally go together when you're locked into logical, goal-oriented thinking. Instead of moving in a straight line, your mind wanders sideways. It drifts through memory, picks up a detail here, a sound there, an emotion tucked away in a forgotten place, and then suddenly it fuses them into something new. This is how ideas are born. This is how your brain begins to solve problems sideways, without brute force or deliberate effort. It's no surprise that some of the world's most creative people report getting their best ideas in the shower, on long walks, or while doing something completely unrelated to the actual problem. Because in those moments, they're not pushing, they're daydreaming. And their brains are doing what they were designed to do, create. What's happening neurologically is even more interesting. Your default mode network becomes highly active, but so does a region called the temporal lobe, which plays a major role in language, memory, and sensory processing. When these areas interact freely, your brain starts blending logic with imagination, past with future, sense with nonsense, until a brand new insight emerges. Sometimes you don't even know it's happening. You'll just be staring out the window, absently doodling, or letting your thoughts float, and suddenly, bam, a solution hits. A story unfolds, a feeling clicks into clarity. This isn't luck. This is your brain's quiet, behind-the-scenes brilliance. And here's the best part. You don't need to force it. The more relaxed your mind is, the more likely these connections are to spark. It's why daydreaming while bored can sometimes be more productive than working under pressure. When you're not focused on being right, you open up space to be creative, and that matters. Because creativity isn't just for artists or inventors, it's for all of us, in the way we solve problems, understand others, and imagine better futures. So the next time your thoughts go wandering, don't chase them back. Let them drift, let them collide, because sometimes the best ideas arrive from places you weren't even looking. Not all daydreams are wild or whimsical. Sometimes they're deeply practical, even strategic. You may not realize it, but while your mind wanders through imagined conversations, what if moments, or possible futures, your brain is actually running mental simulations. It's preparing you, rehearsing, trying on different outcomes to see how they feel before they ever happen in real life. This ability to mentally rehearse is a major reason humans are so adaptable. We can simulate challenges before we face them, which allows us to respond better when the moment arrives. You've probably done it without even noticing, replaying how a conversation with someone might go, imagining what you'd say in an interview, visualizing the look on someone's face when you tell them something important. That's not wasted time. That's cognitive rehearsal, a tool athletes, performers, and public speakers use all the time, and your brain does it naturally through daydreaming. While your conscious mind is wandering, your medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex are quietly building internal models of what might happen. They draw from past experience, emotional memory, and learned behavior to help you test out different paths. It's like mental dress rehearsal. You're trying on decisions, previewing risks, imagining reactions, and because your brain is so immersive, these imagined experiences can feel real, at least to your nervous system. That's why even a pretend argument in your head can raise your heart rate, or why imagining a joyful reunion can bring actual tears to your eyes. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between real and vividly imagined emotional experiences, which means your daydreams aren't just mental fluff, they're practice, they're emotional preparation. They're part of how your brain helps you face the unknown with a little more clarity and confidence. This ability is especially important for emotional intelligence. When you imagine how someone else might react, or how a conversation might land, you're not just rehearsing. You're also building empathy. You're stepping outside yourself, even if only in your mind, and that practice shapes how you show up in the real world. Of course, not all future-focused daydreams are helpful. If they're driven by fear or overthinking, they can veer into rumination or anxiety. But when approached gently, with curiosity instead of control, daydreaming can become a powerful tool for planning, self-reflection, and growth. So the next time your mind drifts off to a future version of you saying something brave, doing something new, or simply feeling a little lighter, don't snap back too quickly. That might be your brain giving you a glimpse of what's possible. When your mind wanders, you're not just escaping reality, you're often reconnecting with yourself. Daydreaming gives your brain the space to ask questions that are hard to face in the middle of a busy day. What do I really want? Who am I becoming? What would life feel like if I finally said yes to myself? It might look like you're just staring out a window, but inside your brain is engaging in one of the most important psychological processes there is, self-reflection. This is made possible by your default mode network, the same brain system activated during other quiet moments like meditation, deep rest, or memory retrieval. But during daydreaming, that network becomes personal. It pulls up stories from your past. It weaves them together with hopes, fears, and future possibilities. And in doing so, it reinforces a sense of continuity, the feeling that you are not just a person reacting to the world, but someone with a story. That story, how you see yourself, where you've been, and where you might be going, forms the core of your identity, and it needs space to evolve. Daydreaming gives your brain time to explore that evolving self without judgment, without pressure, and without the constant noise of external input. It's like a quiet meeting between the current you and the possible you. Have you ever imagined standing on a stage, or writing a book, or walking away from something that doesn't serve you anymore? That moment isn't just fantasy, it's your mind testing a version of yourself that might want to emerge. That's why the images and stories you return to while daydreaming can offer clues about what matters to you, what's missing, what's shifting, what's waiting. In psychological terms, this process is called autobiographical thinking, the way your brain constructs and revisits the story of your life. It's part imagination, part memory, and part emotional truth. And the more often you give yourself permission to wander, the more space your identity has to breathe, stretch, and become. This matters even more during periods of transition, after a loss, during healing, or when you feel stuck. Daydreaming can help bridge the space between who you were and who you're becoming. So if you find yourself drifting into a world that feels a little more you than the one you're currently in, pay attention. That vision might not be an escape, it might be a mirror. And sometimes the person you imagine in your daydreams is the person you're slowly, quietly becoming. Sometimes, when the world gets too loud, your brain gently pulls you inward. It might happen in the middle of a long day, while you're stuck in traffic, half listening in a meeting, or sitting quietly at home. Without warning, your thoughts drift. You're no longer in the room, not really. You're somewhere else, somewhere softer, and for a moment, the weight on your chest feels lighter. That's not just distraction, that's emotional regulation in action. Your brain is using daydreaming as a way to rebalance, to help you process feelings too big or too complex to handle all at once. Researchers have found that daydreaming often increases during moments of stress, boredom, or emotional discomfort, not as a form of escape, but as a built-in coping mechanism, a self-soothing system wired deep into your mind. The act of imagining something better, something hopeful, or even just something different, activates parts of your brain that produce dopamine, the same chemical involved in pleasure, motivation, and emotional recovery. This is why a 5-minute mind wander can sometimes do more for your mood than forcing yourself to focus through it. Your brain is saying, let's take a moment, let's breathe somewhere else. And daydreaming doesn't just help with emotional release, it can help you reframe what you're feeling. By imagining different outcomes, alternate conversations, or future resolutions, your brain begins to explore new perspectives without even realizing it. That's emotional regulation at its most subtle. You're not avoiding the feeling, you're making space for it. You're reshaping it gently through imagination. It's especially powerful for people who struggle with overwhelm. When life feels like too much and direct problem solving isn't working, daydreaming offers a quieter path to relief, a backdoor into calm. Of course, like any mental tool, it can be misused. If daydreaming turns into chronic escape or prevents you from engaging with real life, it may become more of a retreat than a resource. But when balanced, daydreaming is like an inner garden, a place to go when the world feels unkind and your nervous system needs a break. It reminds you that possibility still exists, that hope can be imagined, and that your mind is more than just a machine for productivity. It's a place of restoration, a place where feelings can stretch out without snapping. So the next time you drift off into a world of what-ifs, don't rush back. Let your mind wander, let it heal, because in that quiet wandering, your brain may be doing exactly what it needs to survive.